So here is a question for you. Why do chicken coops always have two doors? Because, of course, if they had four, they'd be chicken sedans. I've had a lot of firsts in my time introducing senior speeches, but I believe Caleb is my first student to make a series of specific requests for this introduction. The first is that I include at least 2 dad jokes, and I cringe at the thought that maybe I've gained some sort of reputation for telling these kinds of jokes. The second request is that I keep my introduction to a length of precisely 3 minutes and 36 seconds, that being the length of the Dark Souls 1 opening cutscene. So I've taken the unusual step of timing this introduction as closely as I can. We'll see. As some of you may remember, Caleb used to open each of my classes by introducing me to a new Dark Souls character. I found these figures interesting, but a bit off-putting if I'm being perfectly honest. I held my tongue and I smiled and I nodded. But I wanted to ask, why be so enwrapped in a fantasy when real mythology and real history is already so interesting? At first I wondered, is this fellow learning any history that I'm teaching him? Now, I ask myself these sorts of questions a lot, and then I recall that the main thing I remember from, say, chemistry class is that atom that walked into the bar and said to the bartender, "I think I've lost an electron." And the bartender says, "Are you sure?" And the atom says, "Yeah, I'm positive." Yeah. As soon as I began asking Caleb to write about history, though, in my class, I was pleased to realize that he was, in fact, a great writer, analyzing history with detail, nuance, and honestly, a real flair. And as the year went on, the details of the Dark Souls characters honestly began to intrigue me, too. It was for that reason that I took perhaps the greatest teaching shot in the dark of my entire career with Caleb. I encouraged him to do his spring semester research paper on Dark Souls and somehow historicize this topic. His response, unsurprisingly, was, "Okay." And he produced something really beautiful, integrating not just the history of mid-20th century total warfare, but really the entire curriculum from 9th grade on forward, especially in his examination of global mythologies, which of course have been enormously real to the cultures that have produced them. Caleb's friends always write of his delightful quirks, but these quirks always frame something about authenticity. Ellie J. recalls the time Caleb ate some of Giancarlo's 6 million Scoville hot sauce during a break and was, quote, visibly dying for the rest of that class. Petrog felt compelled to share a picture of Caleb, quote, on his 4th plate of just mushrooms. Aidan echoes the general theme of food in ways I don't fully understand, but in these words, we all know that Piccolo has no sauce. But do you know what does have the sauce? The Caleb Humphreys, a.k.a. Chumphreys, a.k.a. Queeleg Connoisseur. You're the most real one, realer than One Piece. So, stay fake, my brother, bottom text. And now for something a little bit more sentimental, directly from his speech partner, Seth. And I quote Seth, "I have known Caleb for about 10 years, and there is nothing that can truly describe Caleb. He is extremely funny, and his personality can hook you into a conversation as innovating as, how many Purines are in Purina? Or infinite Bosnia, no Azerbaijan." He can be kind of dopey at times. Once in freshman year, I had convinced him that I had never worn glasses a day in my life. But most of all, he is Caleb. If you know him, you need not understand anything he says, for you need only to feel what he is. Feel the real Caleb deal. and I personally invite you to do precisely that. Please welcome your colleague, Caleb Humphreys.
Okay, for starters, I'd like to shout out my man Seth. He's wearing jeans in spirit. Come on, please tell me. Oh, I guess only the seniors and old teachers remember that one. Okay. Okay, so I have about 10 or so minutes, right, to impart all of the wisdom of Caleb Humphreys and his extravagant adventures on this expansive rock ball hurtling through space into all of your minds, for free, may I add, in such a way that not only it captivates and enthralls an audience of bored, sleepy teenagers and adults who unironically use minion memes in slideshows, but also in a way that gives you all, in a sense, some sort of brain food to chew on. I'm sorry to all the vegans and vegetarians out there, but the next course in this philosophical emporium of our collective wisdom shall be, in fact, quite meaty. Yes! I'm so happy everyone laughed at that. Okay, there's like 2 more dad jokes in here. So now, let's go back in time. Wait for it, wait for it. Here it comes, here it comes. Are we back in time yet? Hey, Booth, are we back in time yet? Okay, here it comes. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. It's gonna hurt. Okay, here we are. So there I was. I was there. I was sitting down. No, that was not original enough. Booth, can we go back to the present again? Okay. Well, in all honesty, I really was just sitting there. Hey, Booth, can we go back to the past again? Sorry. Yep. Oh, this never gets old. Here it comes. Okay. So, I was, well, sitting there. And we're talking about a month ago. So anyways, I'm in my room, you know, my snake's giving me the death stare, my fish are eating each other, my disco music is so loud it's like shaking the fabric of space-time. Well, not shaking, it's boogieing it. And so, anyways, I'm just sitting down and I'm doing what all senior speechwriters should be doing. I'm on TikTok. And so, I see this man who's on TikTok and he's just walking up the porch to get into his house and he dinks his head on this potted plant that's just hanging from the ceiling. And this dude, with no hesitation, just turns around and just, Kaioken, boom! Just punches this plant like he's in an anime compilation. And this whole potted plant just dirt roots everything, just goes soaring gracefully over the hood of his car into the street. And I'm sitting there, completely lost, completely confused, and a little bit hungry. And I open my mouth, and I just say the word, real. And then at that point, it just hit me. Not only that like the storm overhead had knocked out the Wi-Fi and that I've been listening to the Bee Gees for like the past 2 hours, but just real. Kind of like Kendrick Lamar's album that just says damn, but instead it just says real. Kind of like real, genuine, and honest. So I open up my computer and I start thinking to myself, well, let's just be real. So, let's be real here. Okay. Much better. So now let's really go back in time. Don't worry, sound booth, I'll just narrate this one. So, last spring I went to New Orleans with Mr. Rowe, an old retired band director, and our band, and we went to have a good time, really. So, and we step off the plane, we get our stuff, and we're sitting on the benches, and we're waiting for the van to come. Well, everyone else in the band is sitting on the benches. You see, I am perched on this mammoth 2 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot cardboard box with more fragile stickers on it than an ice cream machine at McDonald's. And so inside of this like spiderweb of cardboard and packing peanuts wasn't what I later calculated could be 24 watermelons, 17.2 ducks, or the integration review techniques packet, but like just this massive, dented, slightly rusty, odd-smelling tuba that I would be dragging through the city for the next 3 days. I look to my left, and my friends are just checking their phones, you know, having a good time. And I look to my right, and a man is mopping the floor with a tennis ball. So I'm just sitting there, keep completely confused, and I just open my mouth and I just say, real. And it was. I mean, like, I wasn't putting on a show to like the 20 people who were still at the airport, and he wasn't putting on a show to his boss or anything. We were just being real human beings. We were just being real, genuine, authentic human beings. And maybe that's what we all really need. I guess that's maybe what I'm here to talk about. You know, just being real, genuine, authentic. I mean, I'm wearing a Dragon Ball shirt, for crying out loud. Just try it sometime. So, anyways, we all clamber into this van at like midnight. We laugh our whole way to the hotel, and I drag my nuclear warhead of a tuba up the stairs into the elevator. Aiden and Tommy are right next to me, and we go up to our rooms and we call it a night. So now, at this point, we were stoked. 3 whole days in New Orleans, Louisiana, like the center, the heart of soul itself. It doesn't get any more real than that. Well, as it turns out, we really had yet to define what real means. It comes in many, many different colors and shades. Day 1. We get up, I strap my tuba onto my back, and we roll down this cavernous hotel to the lobby. I mean, it had the whole huge hotel vibe. I mean, it had a full Starbucks, endless hallways, vending machines that nobody has touched since 2007. I mean, just the works, everything. So anyways, we make it out into the lobby, and then we go down to the streets, and we end up sitting on the corner of this church to play some music and hopefully make a few cents. And the moment we stepped onto like this church ground, like the realness it just hit me again. Kind of like that looping Bee Gees purgatory. Like they were just vendors, wall to wall, selling the most odd and bizarre goods that I've never ever seen before. And there were all of these musicians playing swing and soul and jazz and contemporary and classical, just all this music. But it was interesting, they weren't just playing to play the notes. They were like expressing themselves, and they were like playing to play the music. So we set up on the corner of the church, and we started to get into our realness too. I mean, after seeing them, we weren't playing just to play the notes, we were also playing to play. So the crowd gets moving, the tips start coming, the drunk man starts walking towards us, and we're just having a good time. So I start singing this call and response song called Saints and Mama Don't Allow. So there's a whole chorus to it, but basically, I call out a solo by saying, Mama don't allow no saxophone player in here, and the crowd goes, no, no, no. And I said, Mama don't allow no saxophone player in here, and the crowd hopefully says, no, no, no. And I said, I don't care what Mama don't allow, insert player's gonna play his old saxophone anyhow. I said, Mama don't allow no saxophone player in here. No, no, no. Exactly, that's how it goes. So now at this point, the crowd was awestruck, the tips were flowing, the drunk man was almost at us. And then, well, he reached us. So now you might be wondering, oh, handsome Dragon Ball loving Caleb, why do you remember some random drunk man on the streets of New Orleans so well? Well, because we ran into him about 5 different times, and when you run into the same man that looks like Lil Wayne fused with the Lucky Charms leprechaun 5 different times, and I mean, each time he shook your hand so hard you would have thought he's like the off-brand Winter Soldier, like the Autumn Soldier. You really remember this kind of stuff. So anyways, we make it out, we brave the trials of him in the city. Drink your water. And so we end up going into the French Quarter Festival. And that's the big thing we're there for. And about 2 hours and $30 of merchandise later, I'm standing outside with Aiden in this hot, humid pressure cooker of an environment. It was like, it was super hot and super sunny. And we were watching these performers on stage. And that's when the peak of the realness kind of just hit me at that point. So these people that were like on stage, right, and they were performing this great big song. They had on these huge, grand, frilly, feathery costumes, and they were singing Eliza Jane with the crowd, and the costumes had all this red, orange, and yellow on it too. It was pretty cool. So anyways, they were singing Eliza Jane, but the crowd was completely into it. I mean, the people on stage, they were clapping, and they were shaking their tail feathers, and the crowd was singing, oh, Eliza, Eliza Jane, and I was clapping my hands too, and I was singing, oh, I didn't know any of the lyrics at all. But I mean, it didn't matter. I didn't care. I was being real, and I was just genuinely having fun in the moment. I mean, being genuine and being real in that moment, that transcended all words for me. I mean, it transcended the pressure cooker weather. It transcended, like, all of my problems in the world. And that's what I'm getting at again. I was just enjoying myself, and I was being real. I mean, yeah, I look like an idiot, but who cares when you're having real, genuine fun? So eventually we head out, we miss a cruise, we see some more singers, we run into that Lucky Charms looking dude again, and we roll into day 2. Good morning, New Orleans! Lucky Charms diffuses a fight between 2 people equally as grimy as him. We miraculously find a CVS pharmacy. The day's going great. We later run into some fiddler, we see some more singers, we run to Lucky Charms again, we visit a famous jazz room, and apparently we saw Jamie Foxx there? Click the link in the bio. No, just kidding. New Orleans, baby. So, anyways, at this point, it's about 10 o'clock at night. But Aiden and I still haven't gotten our signature New Orleans, Louisiana-style crawfish. But the question is, what place has New Orleans, Louisiana-style crawfish at 10 o'clock at night? So we expertly deduce why not the one place that is so famous for its New Orleans, Louisiana-style food that it's made its way all the way back to Arizona. That's right, folks, Popeyes. Worst mistake of my life. I paid $20, you hear, 20 whole smackers for another round of dry chicken, no napkins, an angry fry cook, and no crawfish? Like, come on, you're literally the final boss of all the Popeyes restaurants here. Like, even in your hometown, those biscuits are still drier than icebreaker conversations at a job interview? Man. So I get my chicken, and I'm sitting outside in this pressure cooker of the weather, pouting, and this man has the audacity to walk by me minding his own business. And so I look at this man, and I look back to Aiden, and then Aiden and I both look at this man, and then both back to each other. And we just die. We just laugh our diaphragms into next week. This dude literally had his hair cut looking like there were knobs on his head. Like literally just no hair and then like a node sticking out. He looked like one of those underwater mines from World War II. Like, I guess you could say his hairstyle was the bomb or something. Thank you. I think there's like one more dad joke in here, but we'll make it through. So, anyways, the moral of the story here is that he was being real too. Like, I could easily just take a picture of him and just put real. Bottom text. Like, he didn't care that he looked like a walking mace flail. I mean, he was being his honest, genuine, authentic, and enigmatic self. Just as I was, pouting over some chicken and lugging a tuba on my back. He was being authentic. And you know what? He probably had no problem with what he thought, well, what I thought about it. Because once you get into that nirvana of just being genuine with yourself, nothing really phases you anymore. I mean, the next day, I was so tired that my voice completely gave out. And instead of getting up and singing, "Mama, don't allow no trombone player in here," I kind of just threw up my arms and screamed the words unintelligibly because my voice just didn't work at that point. I kind of just croaked the words. But guess what? Nobody cared. And I didn't either. I mean, I was in the spirit. And remember, being genuine and being in the spirit, that transcends everything. It transcends all the words. I mean, all I had to do was just throw up my arms and unintelligibly scream, "Ah!" And the crowd would still say, "Ah!" Exactly. The crowd knew what to do. We were being genuine and enigmatic. So maybe the problem in this current world is that people don't want to be real with themselves, or maybe they're too scared to be genuine with themselves. I mean, between like me and the 300 of you guys, is that the problem? Like, between us? I mean, I don't know. But anyway, you can't get me on that one. I mean, for the very last song of our entire trip to New Orleans, it's supposed to be like this grand finale. It was going to be like the insert Italian word I can't think of right now, but like really, really fancy. And it was going to be Chameleon by Herbie Hancock. So it was going to start with like, it was going to start with a fade-in with the tuba, me, and then it was going to go into the melody, the solos, the melody, and back out, and we're just going to have a good time. So I get up for my part of the solo, and I just completely flop it. I mean, I just played all the wrong notes, completely lost the rhythm, and kind of just ended up playing the rest of the song, sitting there looking like an idiot. Musically, it was a disaster, but it was fine, because I was being real, genuine, authentic. Let's say the word that begins with R and ends with EO. I was being genuine, authentic, and real. Exactly. So yeah, I really screwed the song because I didn't care. But I didn't care. I had a ton of fun, and nothing could deny that. And yes, after like 2 miles and some time later, we ended up getting our crawfish. They tasted kind of like crawfish, I guess. And we ran to Lucky Charms one more time. So I guess the rest is history, you know, like some lazy movie with a sloppy ending where the problem is resolved, the main character gets with the romantic interest, and they all live happily ever after. Well, sorry to disappoint you folks. There was never a problem to begin with. I scared away the romantic interest in the elevator with my tuba. And there is no happy ever after until the new Dragon Ball movie releases in the US. That's just how it is. So anyways, I'll be super cliched and just sum it up with, I guess by saying the moral of the story is just to be real, be genuine, and be authentic. With yourself, I guess. You see, it took me about 3 days to open up to my realer self. And humans, on average, live for 27,375 of them. So, if you guys get the jump on me, and you guys are real your whole entire lives, starting from the beginning, you can say you are how much realer than me? 27,000 and some change divided by 3? Over 9,000. I think that's a Dragon Ball reference. I think only Mr. Heidemann got it. Okay, well, that's it, guys. I'll close with a quote. Can you kick a beat? Yeah, okay, I love this one. Oh, where'd it go? Yeah, okay. So, I know I like to be real. So, as Skrillex once said 10 years ago, I'll leave it to him. Shout out to all my lost boys. Shout out to all my lost boys. We rowdy. Shout out to all my lost. All my lost boys. We rowdy. Shout out to all my lost boys. Shout out to all my lost boys.